Hello and welcome. If this is your first time on the channel, thank you for being here. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than how I usually do my videos. Usually it's just gameplay or unboxings. Today I'm just going to be talking about Switch games, mainly physical games. It's getting kind of confusing. It's been kind of confusing. Physical media in the world is kind of in a weird spot right now, and there's a lot going on. So I just wanted to talk about it and break it all down, try and make it easier for some people who might not know, or just give a refresher for the people who do know. So a lot of backlash in the world right now. Sony's getting rid of their physical media. No more discs in like 2028, I think they said. Don't quote me on that. I'm not paying too much attention to that. I'm a Nintendo gamer, so I don't really keep up with what else is going on as far as Xbox and PlayStation goes. That's fine. Hate me if you want. I don't care. I like my Switch. Anyways, so yeah, today we're just going to be talking about Switch games and all the different versions of Switch games that are out there and what to look for depending on who you are. If you're a physical collector like me, I like to have every game on my shelf needs to have a cartridge in it. I don't like having empty cases. There's a lot of that going on. Key cards are a thing, so we're just going to talk about it and get into it. So we're going to start with Switch 1 because that's been around for the longest and we're starting to see the end of that. So it'll be a good refresher to talk about that. So for starters, you had your basic Switch physical game. So it came in a case like this. You picked it up at Walmart, any retailer, and it has a cartridge in there. This is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The entire base game is on here. No updates, just the game the way it launched at the beginning. It's pretty straightforward. Most of Nintendo's first-party games come on a cartridge. We're starting to see more of that with the Switch 2, thank God. Now they're starting to put out smaller cartridges so that way we can get more games out there. So after that we had digital games that got physical releases later, so there's a lot of that going on too, like Limited Run. This is Doom Eternal. This was a digital only game for the longest time. It's in my system right now. For the longest time it was too big. It was supposed to come out on physical, but they canceled that upon release, and then 9 months later it got a digital, and then about a year later it got the physical from Limited Run. And finally got that one when it showed up in the mail. So that one was cool. But yeah, so that's fully on the game. That is, once again, that's a base game. Pretty straightforward. There's no download code on there. It's just the game. All the extra content, like the battle mode and stuff like that, that's all download. But in 20 years, when all those servers are dead, I can just plug in this game and play the entire base campaign the way it is. And it's great. And then we have collections like this. So we have a lot of these out there. There were a lot of these that came to the Switch 1, which was super awesome for the Switch 1. Love the Switch 1 for that. It's a great legacy console. But we have collections like this. We have Borderlands collection. We have BioShock collection. But so with Assassin's Creed, there's kind of a couple different versions of this one. This is the physical version. It has a cartridge. But only Black Flag is on the cartridge. They don't really tell you that. They're kind of shady with that, and you need to watch out for that. But only Black Flag is on the cartridge. Assassin's Creed Rogue is download. When you put the cartridge in your system, you get access to that. So that's kind of how that works. It's a little confusing. So, like, again, in 20 years when the servers are dead, I'll probably only be able to play that game still. Which is fine, because, let's be honest, Assassin's Creed Black Flag is, like, one of the greatest games ever. But yeah, so after a while, there did start popping up. I did notice at big box retailers that the case was out, but it had this logo on it. The big old full game download code right down here. It had no cartridge in it. And you see that a lot with like the Fortnite packs, and those are always just code in a box. So if you're a physical collector like me and you want the actual cartridge, those are not for you. And so that's the only reason I have this one, is because I wanted the tiny little gun in there. I already have all of these games on physical, so I did not need that. It's the only game I have that's full game download. And always look out for that, because that's how you see it. And then looking at things like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, this is where it's starting to get a little confusing, because Switch 1 has the game. You see the little download symbol right down here. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to download here, but for the majority, most of the game is here. There's like different skaters and like packs you can download that the game requires, which is fine, but it's at some point it's going to be missing things in the end, but it's not too big of a deal. But also you have to watch out for, again, there are starting to see just full game downloads where it's just a piece of paper. There's no cartridge in the case, which kind of sucks. Again, physical media is going away. But then also, I think it's on the Switch 2. I think it's either a game key card or it's just a code in a box for the red case, which is partly why I picked up the Switch 1 version, because the game is on the cartridge. So Again, you have to kind of pick and choose there. We're seeing a lot of that with games are getting Switch 2 versions that are just like either key card or download, and then the Switch 1 version's full-on cart. So it's kind of weird. And then some of those, like this one, for example, there is no Switch 2 upgrade. So when I play this game on the Switch 1, it's just the Switch 1 version. There is no Switch 2 edition. Unless I buy it digitally, which is a completely different thing, and it's very confusing, and that's another thing you have to watch out for. I didn't care about, like, the quality-wise. It's Tony Hawk. I don't need it to be in, like, 4K, 60 FPS. I'm just here to have fun. Some people care about that. If that's the way you feel, then, yeah, you should probably buy the digital version, just so it looks good. Anyways, we're going to move on to Switch 2 now, because I feel like we've pretty much covered everything as far as Switch 1, as far as cartridges, downloads, you know, small downloads on the cards, the big collections. So we'll get that out of here. Now we're moving on to Switch 2, which is where we're at now. Nintendo's slowly ramping down production on Switch 1 stuff, so we're just going to start seeing more of this. So I feel like it's super important to get this straightened out, so that way people know exactly what they're dealing with. So first we're going to start with Switch 2 Edition. So what the hell is a Switch 2 Edition? A Switch 2 Edition, I got Hades and Metroid Prime 4 here. A Switch 2 Edition game is a Switch 1 game that comes pre-bundled in with the upgrade for the Switch 2 pack. So in the case of Hades 2, we'll talk about this one first. In the case of Hades 2, it only got a Switch 2 release. They did not make a physical version of this game for the Switch 1. If you want to play this game physically on the Switch 1, you just have to pick this up and you can put it in your Switch 1 and it'll work. That's what the Switch 2 Edition does. Example, you can buy this game. If you have a Switch 1 and you're planning on getting a Switch 2, but you really want to play Hades 2, you can buy it, play it in your Switch 1 for a while. It'll look the way it looks, and then when you get a Switch 2, you just pop it in there, and it'll upgrade automatically. You don't have to pay for it. It's already taken care of, and it makes it look way better. Part of the problem we're seeing with physical things is with key cards. So, like, Pragmata's on a key card. We'll talk about that in a second. The physical version of Hades 2 cost twice as much as the digital version because they had to eat the costs on making physical cartridge, because the cartridge size is so big. It's a 64 gig cartridge. I think it's like a 10 gig game, but they had to eat that cost. So people like me ended up having to pay twice as much for the physical copy as we did digital. Not that big of a deal. I'm a physical collector. I love this game. I was going to pick it up regardless. So we're seeing a lot of that. And so that's kind of something people need to be aware of. We are starting to see more smaller cartridges and smaller games come into Switch 2 on full cartridge, which is really nice. They should have just done that from the get-go. I don't know why they took their time. I get chips and stuff like that are getting expensive, but, like, at some point it just sounds like an excuse. So then, yeah, Metroid Prime 4. Same thing. Metroid Prime 4 is Switch 2 Edition. It works on my Switch 1. Like, if I had Switch 1 and that was it, I could just pick this up and play it there and then upgrade to Switch 2, and the upgrade would already be there. Pretty straightforward. We're seeing a lot of that. You've got games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has a Switch 2 Edition out there now, or I could just pop this into there and then digitally pay like $10 on the eShop for the upgrade pack instead of having to go out and spend $70 on a Switch 2 case, which I could, but like I don't need to, you know. I already have it here. I can just pay the $10 and get it there, and that's fine. So then moving on to key cards. Key cards are, people kind of know, some people might not know. It's just a proxy. So there's like, it comes with a cartridge, but there's only like 1 gig of data that basically just has the download code for the game that gives you access to the key card for the game. The key card, whatever the hell, it's something Nintendo made up. But yeah, so it's just a proxy. Instead of giving you a piece of paper, you actually have something to put in your system. So it kind of feeds into the collector aspect. I don't really have a lot of key cards. I'm kind of not a huge supporter of them. I get that they're out there. I probably am going to start buying them just because I don't want to have to buy nothing. I bought the digital version of Star Wars Outlaws and ended up loving it a lot. And I was like, well, dang, I really wish I had the case on my shelf because I love this game. That's part of why I bought this, because when this came out, I knew this was going to be a Game of the Year contender, and I wanted to have something physical for it to have on my shelf and be like, yes, I played this game. It was awesome. And that's why I bought the key card. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's also not the best thing in the world. I would rather just, like, they should have just put a cartridge out there and then been able to size it right and put it on the game. So this is a Switch 2 only game. This is not a Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. That's something you have to look out for too. Nintendo Switch Edition 2 games work in your Nintendo Switch 1 and your Nintendo Switch 2. This game is just a Nintendo Switch 2 game. It will not work in there. It only works in here. This one's a key card. Now we're moving on to just straight up Switch 2 games, physical cartridge. It comes in there. There's a cartridge that came in this case. The games are on there. It only plays in the Switch 2. It's pretty straightforward, but that's how it works. It's kind of confusing because you have 3 different versions out there you have to watch out for now. So people are like, okay, so what's the difference? All 3 of these games play on the Switch 2. This plays on Switch 1 and Switch 2. This only plays on Switch 2. This only plays on Switch 2. There's nothing on this cartridge, but the game is on this cartridge. Cyberpunk 2077, no download at all. The whole game is on the cartridge. It looks just like this case. Pretty straightforward, super self-explanatory. We need more of that in the world. Yeah, so like I said, it's kind of confusing, but I hope this video kind of helped people understand what's going on and what to watch out for and how to help purchase your games if that's what you're looking for. Because again, before I got my Switch 2, I was like, yeah, I have a Switch 1 and I want it, so like getting this so that way when I upgrade you can do that. That's totally a thing. If you want to do that and you're saving up but you still want to play your games, buy the Switch 2 editions. They will work in your Switch 1 and then they will give you the upgrade later in your Switch 2. Key cards are a thing. Buy them if you want. Don't buy them if you don't want to. At this point, it's kind of null and void in the world. We are starting to see smaller cartridge sizes. These aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So, like, I don't know, man. If your game's there, just buy it if you want it. Like, the case is there. I'm probably going to be terrible and double dip and get the physical version of Star Wars Outlaws just so I have the case on my shelf with the rest of my Star Wars games. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. It's been something I wanted to talk about for a while. Like I said, I know it's a little different than my normal gameplay videos, but hey, what the heck? I'm just doing whatever I want. Anyways, thanks for checking out the video. Hope you guys like this one. If you got any more questions, maybe something I missed, feel free to ask me, message me, hit it up in the comments. I usually respond to people. Yeah, thanks for checking out the video. I hope I see you guys on the next one. If this was your first time, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you've been around for a while, thank you. I appreciate your contributions. I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.